Welcome to MCN and welcome to the launch of the 2025 Ducati Streetfighter V2S. Now, we've ridden the new 890cc V2 in the Multistrada earlier on in the year. We've ridden it in the Panigale, but this Streetfighter is one of the most fun machines that Ducati have ever built. So you might be looking at this and wondering why Ducati have, gone down in capacity, gone down in size. What they've done essentially is they've widened the gap between the Streetfighter V4 and the Streetfighter V2. Previously, the old 955cc Streetfighter V2 sat in sort of like a strange place. It didn't quite fit in against the MT09s, the 890 and the 990 Dukes, the Street 77765s. It didn't have that sort of playful nature about it. It was really serious. It almost felt a bit grown up and a bit too focused. So where the Streetfighter V4 is still that ridiculously fast track focused weapon, what they've done is made this Streetfighter V2 far more road focused, and I've got to say it's much better for it. In terms of facts and figures, this is the S model. So it comes with Öhlins forks, Öhlins shock, comes with a lightweight lithium battery, and you also get a couple of little electronic goodies as well. So you get launch controller standard and a pit limiter, just in case, you might need that on the road. It will set you back £15,990 in the UK. It's 118 brake horsepower and 68 foot-pound of torque. Now, although that's down on the previous Streetfighter, the big headline here is the fact that it's 175 kilos without fuel. That's a monumental difference. And it's actually 18 kilos overall lighter than the previous model, which, that's a huge saving to make. Now, we went into a lot of detail on sort of, the specs on the Panigale video. So this engine, this 890cc V2 motor is pretty much exactly the same. And then what Ducati have done is the whole naked trick where they tweak the chassis slightly and give it a set of upright bars. So the rake and trail have been altered slightly. The suspension's got some softer springs and different settings, both front and rear. And the swing arm has been lengthened as well by 30mm. Now, what I'm going to do is tell you about the riding experience of this thing, because I was really 50-50 on how good it was going to be. And there are some parts of this bike that were amazing, but there are just a couple of bits that let it down as well. So what I've got to say is it's super friendly. Like, you get on it, the clutch is really nice and soft and engaging. The throttle response, even in the highest of the maps, is really soft and really intuitive. The electronic rider aids, it's got the lot, it's got the ABS, traction control, wheelie control. It even has the slide control as well, which will help you to back it into corners if that's something you want to be doing and learning. But it's really user-friendly. If you're a new rider or you're jumping on a bigger capacity machine, this thing will look after you. And although the seat height's reasonably tall, because it's so thin, it's really easy to touch the ground as well. Now, Ducati have messed about a bit with the riding position. For someone of my height at 5'7", it's perfectly fine. It's brilliant, it's roomy. The peg's quite high, but I quite like that. If you're a bit taller, you might find it a little bit more cramped, but if you're sort of under the 6 foot mark, you shouldn't really have too many problems. Now, even though it's super friendly and super easy going, it's when you start getting a bit faster and riding it a bit more, spirited, is when it really comes into its own. So this chassis and suspension setup is just incredible. There's actually nothing I would change on it. It's so flickable and so agile. It's got that real playful factor to it, but it just talks to you the whole time. It almost feels like you're on a supermoto in the sense that you can just chuck it anywhere and it just chats to you the whole time. You never feel like you're asking too much of it. The standard Diablo Rosso 4 Pirellis offer all the grip that you're going to need in most conditions, and it is a joy to ride. It's actually probably one of the best Ducatis I've ever ridden on the road, just in terms of the sheer confidence that it inspires in you. And the same goes for that engine. Whereas the new Streetfighter V4, which we reviewed last week, is, it's an absolute beast. It's a monster. It's something that, you've got to strap yourself onto. This is the complete opposite. It's really friendly, it's really easy, but then it has that playful nature that the old V2 never had. Where if you like bikes like the MT-09, the 990 Duke, if you like doing, your skids and your wheelies and you like it to be a bit more active, this is now in that ballpark. That 890cc motor just takes off from 3,000 RPM. It makes like 80% of its torque from 4,000 RPM onwards. And wherever you are in the rev range, it's just always ready to pick up. It's always eager. As soon as you twist that noise tube, it's eager to go. And if you're a gear too high, it doesn't punish you for it either. It's really addictive, it's really easy, and it's really exciting. It's a bike that feels like it was made for the road, whereas a lot of the previous naked Ducatis and sports Ducatis feel like they're made for the track and then you're sort of putting them on the road. So in terms of that, it is a marvellous thing. But, and there are a few little buts, this thing will set you back in the S model at just under 16 grand, so it's £15,990. When you look at its competition, that is quite a substantial amount of money. However, I have to say, it does feel special, it does have that Ducati feel, and I think it's one of the best looking nakeds on the market. It looks gorgeous. It's a really, really beautiful thing. Another thing that's a bit of a frustration is the fact that you get cruise control buttons and heated grip buttons, but you've got to pay extra for the software. If you're spending near enough 16 grand on the bike, I'd really like for that to come as standard, especially as the hardware's already installed. And our test bike had the cruise control on it today, and the buttons aren't quite in the right place. This has got a new switch gear and dash setup, and everything works perfectly. I could understand it and change it before I'd even got 5 miles in, and it's really easy and really nice. But the only frustration is the cruise control sits above, so you've got to take your hand off the bar to adjust it, and that's if you pay for it as an accessory. On the subject of the electronics, all of it is amazing, it's super easy to change, but I did have a little play with the launch control earlier when no one was watching, so I didn't get shouted at, and it's a bit of a waste of time, to be honest. You don't really need it, especially on this thing. It doesn't even bounce off the limiter. Do you know, like how you like on a race bike where it goes whoop, up, 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 up? Doesn't do that so much, so that didn't quite do it for me. Another thing that I found interesting on this was I couldn't quite gel with the quick shifter like I have on pretty much every Ducati I've ridden in the last 10 years maybe. I've had quite a few Ducatis over the years. I've raced 899s and V2s, and I've always found the quick shifters to be really good, really reliable, really sharp. But the thing that bugs me about this one is, and Ducati said that they've done it on purpose because it's a more road biased model, but it's just the silly little things, as in when you're on the throttle you can't change down gears. So just say you're rolling along in 6th gear at 40 mile an hour and you want to change down for the overtake, you've got to chop the throttle and then go down the box, which is, it's a little issue, but it's something that you really start to notice when you're riding it all day. So if I was to pick one of these up myself, I would probably put an aftermarket shifter on it. And one more thing as well is it's not the most comfortable machine in the world for a long day's riding. So we've done about 200 kilometers today, so not a huge amount, but I found that the seat is really hard. My backside was killing me after a day's riding, and I also found that the little bit of vibing through the pegs as well. When you're rolling along the motorway, you do start to feel it a little bit when you've been riding for a couple of hours. But as an overall package, they are small, tiny nitpicking issues in what is one of my favourite Ducati road bikes that I've ever had the chance to ride, and B, a real surprise, because I wasn't sure what to expect with this new V2 platform. I wasn't sure, how fun, how friendly, how easy and how capable it's going to be, because to hit all them things is really hard work. But with this, Ducati have really nailed it, and if you buy this bike, you will not be disappointed.